Data loss prevention, DLP, has always been a concern for businesses. In earlier days, the focus was on the protection of physical documents. Now, the loss of these documents could be accomplished by penetrating the physical perimeters, or even outright theft of documents from couriers, or even a smash and grab for a parked vehicle and stealing laptops. While these tactics may continue today, the growth of the internet has increased the magnitude and likelihood of data theft. In short, the proliferation of data and communication channels has made the criminal's job a lot easier. DLP has a reputation of being an enormous, multi-year undertaking. Yet it need not be. A DLP program can be manageable, progressive in process, and if organizations focus on a progressive approach, can be very rewarding and with rapid returns. Deployment of a DLP tool should go from one tactical success to another. A quick win approach to avoid outright failure due to complexity and organizational politics. Whenever endeavoring to produce a data loss prevention strategy, one needs a plan. Here's a 7-step framework for developing and deploying data loss prevention strategy. There are a number of fundamental activities that must occur when initiating a data loss prevention program. This framework produces general guidelines that your DLP strategy should follow. These requirements can only be used to help choose the right DLP solution for your organization. The first step in a 7-step framework for developing and deploying a data loss prevention strategy would be prioritize your data. Not all data is equally critical. The first step in any DLP program is to determine which data would cause the biggest headache if it were stolen. In a manufacturing company, they might choose to prioritize intellectual property, such as design documents, in their DLP efforts, particularly those for future projects. In a retail or financial situation, companies would obviously rank PCI data the highest. In a healthcare company, they might prioritize medical records, as these often are stored on laptop computers. Now, while it may seem obvious, data loss prevention should start with the most valuable and sensitive data that is most likely to be targeted by attackers. Once your prioritization of the data is complete, step 2 comes into play, categorizing or classifying the data. Classifying data is often seen as a formidable challenge in DLP. However, a simple, scalable approach is to classify data by context. That is, associating a classification with a source application, a data store, and even the user who created the data. By applying a persistent classification tag to the data, allows organizations to track its use, whether in motion or at rest. Upon completion of prioritization and classifying your data, the third step is associate a level of risk with your data. This may vary with a type of data, such as data at rest versus data in motion. However, it's important that your team agree on the level of risk for each item. As you know, security systems can generate a large number of alerts, but only a small number of them are actual genuine risks to the organization. Events like broken business processes, false positives, and minor standards violations can create enough data pollution that actual events of concern may go unnoticed by the team. Not to mention, chasing false positives can increase operational costs. To solve this security challenge, one must correlate incidents and alerts into meaningful DLP cases. Specifically, assign a data loss risk score for each data item. The score represents the actual data loss risk and is designed to enable the security team to initiate an appropriate response. The risk score is evaluated by staff and hopefully assisted by technology algorithms that combine knowledge about the content and baseline information and various observables and indicators with regards to the data that actually could help focus in on the source and the destination of each attack. These scores allow the team to rapidly appraise the situation and facilitate a rapid triage of DLP incidents. Once you're done with associating risk with your data, we move on to step 4, monitor all data movements. Understanding how data is used and identifying existing behavior that puts data at risk are critically important. Without this knowledge, organizations cannot develop appropriate policies that mitigate risk of data loss while allowing appropriate data use. Not all data movement represents data loss. However, many actions can increase the risk of data loss. Organizations should monitor all data movements to gain visibility to what's happening to their sensitive data and determine the scope of the issues that their DLP strategy must address. After successfully monitoring all your data movements, step 5 requires communication and developing controls. While monitoring will provide metrics about how data is put at risk, the next step for effective data loss prevention is to work with business line managers to understand why this is happening and create controls for reducing data risk. Data usage controls may be simple at the beginning of the DLP initiative, targeting the most common risky behaviors while generating support from line managers. As the data loss prevention program matures, though, organizations can develop more granular fine-tuned controls to mitigate specific risks and concerns. Once you've established communication and developed controls in association with your line managers, step 6 says, provide employees training and continuous guidance. Once an organization understands the circumstances in which data is moved, user training can often mitigate the risk of accidental data loss by insiders. Employees often don't recognize that their own actions can result in data loss and many times will self-correct when educated. Now, advanced DLP solutions out there can offer user prompting to inform employees of data use that may violate company policy or just simply be risky outright. In one study, prompting alone reduced risky user behavior by 82% in just 6 months, so it's a worthwhile endeavor. Once you've established training for your employees and established a continuous guidance program, step 7 calls for rollout. Getting control of the most critical data is an important first step in data loss prevention, but it's not the last. Some of the organizations will repeat these steps with an expanded data set or an extended data identification and classification to enable more fine-tuning of the data controls. Of course, data loss prevention is an ongoing process, not a single set of steps. But starting with a focused effort to secure a subset of your most critical data, DLP is a simpler mechanism to implement and manage. A successful pilot will also provide lessons for expanding the program. Over time, a larger percentage of your sensitive information will be included with minimal disruption to business processes. We hope you found this information useful, and we thank you for your patronage.